If today's topic sounds or seems a bit awkward to you, join the team. One of the things I need to get you to do as you listen today is to think about the fact that the Bible in principle and often in precept addresses every need that we have, and we can address those needs with the church, with the brethren as needed, provided we'll pray about it, think about it, and do things in a proper and smart way. There's some thanks that I owe as I begin today. This lesson wasn't created by me alone. Several of you have vetted this lesson and made suggestions for improvement already, which I really appreciate. Others of you will make post-lesson suggestions for improvement, and I will also appreciate those. We need to be aware of the devil's devices. We need to be aware of the dangers around us. We're also wise to be aware of points of emphasis within our society and culture. Sexual harassment is a point of emphasis. Educationally, in religious bodies, even sports groups like the NFL and such are paying more attention now than they used to pay. So we're wise to pay additional attention. There are certain behaviors that are just out of bounds, and we know that. The Bible makes that absolutely clear. If you'll think about Galatians 5:19, the obvious or evident works of the flesh, that list starts with adultery, fornication, uncleanness, and lewdness. Out of bounds. People who live in those sins don't go to heaven. If you think about it in terms of Ephesians chapter 5, verses 3 and 4, do not let fornication or uncleanness or covetousness even be named among you, which is fitting for saints. Neither filthiness, foolish talking, coarse jesting, which are not fitting, rather the giving of thanks. You think about the famous area of the Sermon on the Mount that intersects. Jesus says there, you've heard it said by those of old, do not commit adultery. But I say to you, whoever even looks on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. You want to be laughed off the stage, read that passage in a public setting that's not church. Folks don't know what to do with that because they don't respect the Bible. They don't respect authority very much. And they don't respect the fact that all sin begins in the heart and in the mind. And if we'll get our hearts and minds right, everything else goes better. One of the dangers in a lesson on sexual harassment, we don't even agree on how to pronounce the word. It was harassment all the days of my youth. It's harassment now for most people. We have trouble agreeing on a definition. One of the definitions I read basically says it's any unwanted sexual advance or obscene behavior. That's a poor definition. The unwanted advance part is accurate. But when you start talking obscene, you give people a boatload of latitude that we don't need and we should not have. A better definition is it's any unwanted sexual advance, request, or remark, including any verbal or physical behavior that causes pain and discomfort. You are not the standard when it comes to defining, and I'm not. The potential victim is the one who has far more to do with defining. We don't want to create a hostile environment. We don't want to create an unworthy environment. We don't ever want to create an environment at school, church, anywhere else that denies the fact that men and women are equally made in the image of God, equally precious to God. And if you want to think about it from a biblical standpoint, positive, I guess 1 Peter 1, 14 through 16 would be the place to go. Concerning your former lust, in your ignorance, don't go there. Don't stay there. As he who has called you is holy, so you be holy in all your conduct. If we could summarize what we need to say in just a few sentences, treat everybody like you want your daddy, your mama, your sister, your brother to be treated, only a little more carefully, because they don't know you from your youth up. And you've got to be a little more careful with people who don't know you really well. One of the dangers in talking about sexual harassment is the idea some people have that it's only an issue for men treating women poorly. That's not true, though it is prevalent. It can be men treating men poorly. It can be ladies treating ladies poorly. It can be ladies abusing their relationship or power with men. And we don't want to be guilty on any level, no matter what our circumstance or situation might be. This is not just an idea that we're presenting for those of you who are young men and students. If the Lord allows, we'll have Judge Medley on campus fairly soon with one of her colleagues who will do a brief seminar for faculty and staff on this subject, because it is such an important matter and something that we need to know about and stay right regarding. Okay, get real. Talk to us from the heart. If you treat people like objects, you're dead in the water. She is never a piece of meat. She's never soup of the day. And he's never just a hunk. Every one of those people is a soul precious to God. And if I look at them like meat or food, I'm in trouble. With God and with myself, that just won't work. Cultural conditions vary tremendously, and rules change from culture to culture. Even if we get it right, every individual is precious enough for Jesus to go to the cross for, we still have to work that out in day-to-day life. Keep your thoughts pure. Keep your hands off. If you identify situations that are tempting and dangerous, avoid them as much as feasible. Battle with prayer and scripture. Have good people around you who watch your back and warn you when you start taking a step in a wrong direction. Many of you know me. I have low intuition. Never a prophet, nor the son of a prophet. I can miss things that are stunningly obvious to others. We have people on this campus with radar that the Defense Department would covet. They can see things coming before we even know they might be in that zone. If you ever, gentlemen, have any doubt about your behavior and want any coaching, Melanie can coach you. And you will understand her. Alana can coach you. Dr. Snodgrass can coach you. Debbie May can coach you. And you will know in just a few minutes where you stand and how things are. And that is healthy for us to think about. Michelle is our Title IX liaison. If you were to observe an activity you thought to be sexual harassment, you would talk to Michelle about that. And under federal mandate, she would look into this, and if it had merit, would absolutely never be ignored. It would be followed up on in the appropriate manners. She's even mandated to report that. Not the name and not your private information, but the fact of the situation. And we would never want to do anything that would get in the way of that. Just talking from a guy's perspective, since I'm limited to that, I think it's okay to say to a lady, you look nice today. Unless you've already creeped her out. And if you've already creeped her out and she's made that clear, you can't even say that. I think it's way out of bounds to say, you look hot today. Now, if they've been out working and they're dripping sweat off their elbows, it may be okay. But in any other situation, don't go hot. That will get you in trouble. That dress makes you look great. No, think that's a little above where we ought to go there. It would not be a wise situation to do. If you weren't married, I'd date you. Whoa, don't go there. Or if I weren't married, I'd be, nope, don't go there. I dreamed about you last night. No. If I dreamed about you last night and you were getting a Nobel Prize and we were all cheering for you, that's kosher. We can do that. But if it goes anywhere else, no. Swallow that. Don't go there. Don't even think about it. Stay away from comments about beds and bedrooms and negligees and anatomy and anything else overtly sexual. Just don't go there at all. The devil loves to lie, and he's really good at it. One of the devil's best lies about sexual harassment is, I know my heart. I never intended. Intention in this case has nothing to do with it. It's the perception of the victim. It's the effect on the victim that counts here. Now let me be a little careful in another way though. You may be thinking, okay, you're putting all this power in the hands of potential victims. What do I do to defend, or what do I do to prevent? One of the coolest things in the world, I just love it, the power of reputation, the power of doing right day in and day out. If somebody were to say about me, you have been sexually harassing whomever, I want to be able to look them in the eye and say, what is there about me that would even make you think I'd do that? And I want them to not even hesitate, but no, nothing about that. Now, I'm not saying I'm above temptation, and I'm not saying I shouldn't be investigated if I do anything wrong or any of that. I just want my reputation to be stout and strong enough. I'm old, don't have much money, strange in many ways. A couple of years ago, a church lady, I wish she hadn't done it. She knew it was my birthday and she offered to spank me for my birthday 3 times. This did not go well. Even my radar went off. I reported to Laura and said, this has happened. Nothing is going to happen here, but this has happened. Laura watches me more closely now. I'm glad she does. She loves me. This individual will never have a private conversation with me. Laura will always be close by, and if she can't, she'll send somebody. You just never know what's going to happen. But we need to know what we're going to do and who we're going to be. When it comes to contact, Michelle sent this cool list from a website. Some things we might not normally think about as harassment. And you got to be careful because it may or may not be. The giving of a gift, depending on what that gift is and what words come with it. A neck massage. Touching, period. I'm old school, and this is Old South. Old South has always been ladies initiate even a handshake. Got to be careful again here, because the devil will lie to us and often does. None of you, but I've had guys say the stupidest things to me. I'm a hugger. You may not be a hugger, but I'm going to hug you anyway. What if you want to be a jerk? Go for that. You know, we may be thinking within normal parameters. All parameters aren't normal. You may be dealing with somebody who's had a really challenged life and they've been hurt more ways than we have any way to understand. And if he or she doesn't want a hug, God bless them, they don't need one. Stay away. I'm not a hugger, but there are a couple of ladies at church I hug in and I hug out every time. One of them because she has a terrible home life. She's old enough to be my mama, that helps a bit, and she just needs that. Another one, I helped bury her husband after a tragic, long illness, and I love her like she was my own mama, and it would be cruel not to give her her hug every Sunday and Wednesday. Just be smart. It's not about me or my comfort or you or your comfort. Let's be good to others. Let everyone look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others. On a practical level, sometimes harassment is gray fuzzy. Stay away from the edges. Stay in the safe, big zone. What do you do if you feel harassed or you see it or you think you might be seeing it? If you just think you might be seeing it, confront. No, do not do this. We don't talk that way. We don't act like that. Back up. Just be definitive. If the person cannot hear you, Brad will help you. Student affairs people will help you. Others on campus, talk to somebody you trust and let them be of help to you. Do not suffer in silence or allow somebody to suffer in silence. We're not going to take out an ad in the Times Daily and say we need to improve in this area. We're just going to improve in this area because it's important for us to do so. Title IX, because we take federal funds, the government forbids discrimination, sexually based discrimination, including sexual harassment. And we should stay legally compliant, but we are absolutely answerable to a higher standard than government. We're answerable to God always. And because we're answerable to God, we want to do right and look right while we're doing it. Jim, from my youth, we were always told 3 things that get a preacher gone quicker than anything else. Flaky doctrine, messing with the money, messing with the women. Now, these days you have to change that. The first 2 still work, but messing with the women or the men or the children or the animals, we live in a sad and sick world now. And people do not appreciate the idea of purity and holiness, wholesomeness. But we appreciate those ideas because they're right before God. If you do have questions, we won't do them in here. Just come by to see me and I'll tell you what little I know. If you have even better questions, we'll refer you to people who know way more than I know. We want to do right. We want to think right. We want to teach right. And we want to look right while we're doing all of that. And if we'll get it together on all those levels and keep it together, the devil will have a hard time getting a foothold. And we want to make his work just as difficult as possible. If today made you a little uncomfortable, good. I did my job. If it didn't, I'll try harder next time. We'll end with a prayer. Father in heaven, help us to be your people, heart, soul, mind, and strength. Help us to love you. Help us to love your purity and your holiness. Help us to imitate your holiness. Father, help us to always treat one another as family, as beloved. You love us. We really want to love one another, and we want to do right. In Jesus' name, amen.